What's good, YouTube land? I know what you want. I know. But you're gonna have to wait. Let's do some other stuff first. Hold on. We'll get there eventually. But first, let's dive back into the studio series with a certain young flame. And no, it's not the Human Torch, but I wouldn't be surprised why you think that. It's studio series Hot Rod. Thankfully not based off the last night Hot Rod. So here's his box. He got a nice picture of Hot Rod right there. And it's his depiction in the Transformers movie, 1984. You got all the usual stuff you come to expect. A quite closer up shot of just going, ah! I must light our darkest hour. And you got some stuff on the back. You got the movie logo on the top. Got the same picture again on the side. So, yep, there's the box. And here's Hot Rod. And no, it's not Rowdy Roddy Piper, although I could kind of see where he might have gotten his nickname from. Or maybe one influenced the other, you never know. But I really like this guy as an action figure. This is arguably the best Hot Rod's ever looked. And for direct comparison, here's the Power of the Primes Hot Rod. And yeah, it is not a fair comparison at all. This guy, you've been outdated. If that was what I thought was the best Hot Rod we were going to get, then this thing fucking blows it out of the water. In many different ways. So let's also do some comparisons because we have them here. Here he is with Studio Series Blur. His mentor throughout the rest of the series, Cup. And Jazz. So yeah, one thing about this guy, he's sold at Voyager price point, but he's the size of a deluxe. Which is not a surprise if you're familiar with, again, this guy, sold at a leader price point. But at least with this guy, he has some other stuff to make up that price point. What does this guy have? Well, engineering. More to be precise. He does a lot of stuff. Well, mostly it comes down to engineering and articulation. And aren't those the two main things when it comes to a transforming robot? But let's get a look on that head sculpt. Very nice depiction of young Hot Rod with his relatively calm expression, nice pale blue eyes, and his silver forehead logo, whatever it is. I wish he had light piping, but he does have a gimmick that tries to emulate it. As a character, Hot Rod, well, he's young and he's impetuous. He's basically the over-arrogant teenager who goes to school in a leather jacket. He thinks he's cool and he's very impatient. So, yeah. Although I guess Hot Rod can actually pull it off. Oh, he does evolve into Rodimus Prime, the secondary leader of the Autobots after Optimus Prime dies. Spoiler alert. And he goes from overly arrogant to needlessly worried about his own abilities. Needlessly lacking confidence, I guess. Well, that's kind of bound to happen when you have to end up being compared to Optimus Prime for the rest of your life. It kind of gets in your head a little bit. And speaking of in his head, we'll go to the first gimmick before we talk articulation. And it's in his head. You can open up his helmet, which is horrifying, just like ripping off my hair. I don't want to look at myself bald. And you can flip down this translucent piece and close it, and he's got a visor now to replicate something in either season 3 or the movie. Doesn't look bad. Here. Do I still wish it was light-piped eyes instead? Yes, but that's better than nothing. And it's also easily forgettable in case you hate it, which is good. So, but also, I really like this robot mode. It's really clean. There's very little kibble. And even if you could consider this kibble, it also makes sense on a robot to have a back of his shin nice and thick, protect that Achilles tendon. But also, it's just overall a really well done action figure. So I guess we'll go into articulation. And also, hey, we match. Articulation before we cover the rest of his gimmicks. So his head is on a ball joint. Go up and down. Tiny bit of side wobble. Good old swivel. You can look up that far. You can look down that far. I do kind of wish the neck actually pegged in somewhere, because I don't know how easy it would be able to see, but here, try and give you a better look. Yeah, that gray panel just kind of sits there. So, kind of wish his shoulders can go all the way around until they hit his spoiler. And go back and go all the way out. They do have a butterfly joint, although you kind of end up disassembling him a little bit. Like, that's about as much range as you can get without starting the transformation, because if you go any further, it just kind of starts separating things, and so you get some range out of the butterfly, but not much. You kind of get, how easy is it to see, about that much range when it's just stationary. You get way more range when it's up here, and you get a full rotation sort of when it's right in front of his face. Oh, he's basically doing this. Oh, the sun's in my eyes. Where's my visor? Oh yeah, it's inside my head. So you get that. You do get an elbow beyond 90-degree elbow bend, which also functions as a bicep swivel. You do get a wrist swivel, along with a tiny bit of that sort of motion, a little bit of inward. And you also get a knuckle joint. Not a very big opening knuckle joint, but I'll take articulated fingers any day of the week, and twice on Sunday. Waist, perfectly free, very nice. Hips can go all the way forward, just past 90, or just past, 90. They can go back only that far, which unfortunately is the only real limitation on his posability, I find. You do get a thigh swivel, cut right below. A double jointed knee, which you can give him a bit of a shorter look if you want for some reason. I don't know. I like extending it down here. Or you can go all the way back using that double joint. Give him some proper tiger knee action. You also get a tiny bit of forward tilt on the ankle and a tiny bit of pivot on the ankle. So overall, articulation is very good. There's not much that's hindered besides the hips backwards, unfortunately. I'm trying to think of, is there anything I would add? He's kind of got everything you really need in a modern transforming action figure. But, yeah. Also, I didn't mention, he does have some minor mold-in detail. It's not really picked out or anything, but he does have some on the hips, on his skirt, of course, picking out some details. So, overall, very solid robot mode. That's also a really good thing I like about him, is he feels solid. He doesn't feel like he's going to disassemble and start transforming while I'm playing with him and, being a ham-fisted oaf. One little nitpick, I guess, is this panel really doesn't like to tab in very securely. It tabs in, but then it pops itself back out. It's a tiny thing, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it. So, I mentioned gimmicks. Let's talk about other gimmicks. So, for the first things we can do are come to his hands. And I don't think you have to. You can just open his arm straight up. Yeah, just open his arm right up and rotate his wrist out. And in this arm, he's got a little thingy. Probably a soldering iron. It's apparently what he used to actually repair Cup in the 1986 movie. So, yep, he's got that as a flip-out hand, which is easy enough to slide back in if you don't like it. In the other hand, he also has a flip-out thing. I think the technical term is thingamabob, but it's a peg. And we have to go back into the box to fetch out more plastic. So not only does he come with the standard issue backdrop, which we'll talk about now, is actually a scene from the movie where he's fighting Galvatron inside Unicron, which is really cool. It's right about the time where he has to light the darkest hour, that iconic imagery. So not only does he have that, but he has a few being 7 accessories. So not only does he have just a exact copy of the Matrix that came with Earthrise Optimus, or was it Siege Optimus? I can't remember. He's got a Matrix which has a nice light piping chunk in the center of it. Light our darkest hour piping, which we'll get to in a second. He also has 3 effect parts and 3 weapons. Oh yeah, they gave him basically everything you could ask for with the Rodimus. What, no fishing rod? First off, in relation to that peg, he has this buzzsaw, which it does actually slightly spin. So, some nice detail on it to try and represent a buzzsaw. It has a hole right in the back of it, which, conveniently enough, pegs right into his hand. So now he can use his buzzsaw. Surprising he didn't use it against Galvatron, but I guess he deemed it wouldn't be as effective as the Matrix of Leadership. And hilariously, it has a 2 on it. And it can swivel if you want him playing Frisbee with it. So there's that. And for the rest, we will just flip his hand back out, and we will actually deal with the Matrix of Leadership, because he can do the rarely often executed properly Light Our Darkest Hour pose. So you can actually sort of stick the Matrix in his hands. I'm doing this the wrong way, but yeah, you just... Oh, come on, stop unpegging yourself, please. You're on camera, Rodimus. Stop embarrassing me. But yeah, he can actually reach in front of himself, sort of, and completely unpeg and start transforming. Hold on. I think he actually does it up here. So you get just enough articulation to actually make it happen, which honestly is a rarity, because more often than not, the Matrix is either too small to fit in a Transformer's hands, or the hands don't have articulation to allow this. So the fact that Rodimus can actually do this... Oh, come on. I want him to hold it higher. Higher. There you go. He can actually do it, which, is awesome. And to go with this, one of the effect parts right here, I can actually pull it out. There you go. Is to go specifically with this effect where it actually plugs into the Matrix. Sort of. It will eventually. Yes. Come on. It's soft, squishy plastic, so it's like kind of fighting what I want it to do. There we go. So just stick it back in his hands. Oh, come on. What are we doing? Why are you suddenly... There we go. And it actually has the effect of lighting our darkest hour, which is awesome. That is really cool. That this is basically, you could recreate a pose from the movie, one of the most iconic poses in Transformers G1 history. So, yep, there's that. Now, we'll never talk about that again. Because even though he has it throughout the rest of his career, you'd think he would actually use it more often in Season 3, but no. I'm pretty sure he just keeps getting his ass kicked. And now, we're not going to talk about... Well, I'll show off the other two effect parts. They look okay. Translucent little effects, but we're going to focus on his guns. So he's got a good old Rodimus standard pair of, I believe they're photon dispensers or something. I forget. What is... Hold on 2 seconds. I want their actual names this time. Every single time I look at Rodimus, I tend to get his guns' names wrong. Or Hot Rod, or Hot Rodimus, as he's also been called. Here we go. They're okay. They're photon lasers. That's what that's what we have. They're just photon lasers, and they here you go. They're nicely painted, at least, And they look good here as just two solid guns instead of two guns that become one gun. And you can peg their unpainted red handles into his hands. And he holds them very well. Here's a look at the other one. So, yep. I believe that's everything with the robot mode. He looks good. He poses well. He can fire his guns. He can 80s fire his guns. Watch out, this is so much cooler. Even though by gun design this makes it so much more inaccurate, but there you go. Look at me, I can be so cool firing my gun sideways. Yeah. Oh, I guess I can mention he's got a Tamashi port in his ass for if you have a Bandai Tamashi. How does Jobby do it? Bandai Tamashi Nation's Act 5 stand? Although really fast, so I imagine he actually speeds up the blah 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 blah. And well, let's get fast and furious. So the best way I can describe this transformation is, well, screen accurate. And in fact, I don't have to describe it as screen accurate. I can just show you. Hold on. Bop. See this? See this? Hold on. Let's. Is my. See, with the magic of the internet, I can show a clip right in front of my face. Watch this. Did you see that? Do I have to show it again? Hold on, let's show it again. From the beginning. Right there. Basically, this toy does its best job to recreate what you just saw right there. So, where's my instructions? I don't need the instructions, but where are the instructions for Hot Rod? No. Where are you? It doesn't matter. They're sitting over here somewhere. So you can start on either section. I'm going to start at the arms. So the best thing to do is open this piece that's on the back, rotate the exhaust, the pipes, whatever you want to call them, these silver pipes here, and cover the hand with the panel. We're just going to leave that for now. Do the same thing on the other side. It's going to come into play in a bit. Also, you can unpeg this, which pegs in there nice and securely. I also like the reverse transformation, where this is the final step, because it really adds a bit of that final pizzazz to the transformation. Like it's a final moment, like like something's helmet, like a Sentai transformation, where the last thing is like the helmet forming. That's kind of what that moment feels like, of just raising the spoiler, which is total, yeah, we'll go with that. So fold it down, and you're going to rotate it, and you're going to leave it for now. And we're going to come to the legs. So rotate the waist and spin them around in your hands until you figure out which side is the correct side. Open these panels and double hinge that section, or just single hinge that section out, and fold the foot in. We can do the same thing on the other side. Hinge and a hinge. Fold that up. And at this point, you can fold this up so it encapsulates, and then cover like that. Cover this section, cover the leg, hide the leg. So fold It's a little bit awkward in space when you want to do both, but fold that up, and then this section collapses. Fold it back down. Come on. What are you doing to me? Making me look bad? There you go. Just fold it over and collapse it there, and we shall leave those panels. Actually, we can put the spoiler on now. So the spoiler goes over those two ports. So, I forgot to mention that kind of thing. He has two 5mm ports on the backs of his shins. So just this is going to close up, and everything is going to tab together. Come on, I'm going to show you. I don't want to break it. But there are tabs on either side here for the legs to plug into. And there's also pegs right here for the legs to plug into. So just make sure everything's lined up. Everything tabs into place like that. You've got the rear end all done. And now we come to the torso. So you want to fold this panel out and keep folding this panel. You also want to take the opportunity to make sure there's room to rotate this whole section. Basically, you can untab if you need it, but you want to make sure this goes all the way around, and that'll sit there for right now. Take the head, rotate the head. Oh, I'm curious about this. I just remembered TF Wiki claims that there's actual space in here for the matrix of leadership, which the box says nothing about. So basically, I'm going to rotate this back. And I'm going to stick it like right in the bottom, or at least see if there's anywhere it can go, and then drop it. Can I plug it in here? I hadn't actually tried this before this review, so okay. It's inside his chest. Oh, Jesus! Come on. There's no locking points, unfortunately, which is one thing I have to give to the Power of the Primes version. Just one thing? But yeah, it definitely does not feel like there's... Oh, shit! There's legitimate room for it. It's actually... You can hear it kind of rattling around in there. It's actually like right there. So yeah, that is quite the surprise that the Matrix of Leadership, that TF Wiki was correct. Okay, now we can get back to transforming him. So I'm going to leave the Matrix in there because they say you can. Go back to this panel, rotate it around, take his head, fold his head in. His head is actually going to lock, potentially, the Matrix in place. Looks like it can, so. Yeah, his head is going to sort of try and keep the Matrix. No, I wouldn't trust it, but Then again, TF Wiki was right. Oh, yeah. So basically, you want, at this point, you can collapse this back in and leave this open for now. And rotate these arms, and they're going to plug in right in there to the translucent blue plastic. And they're also going to tab in to the right there. They're going to connect in there. So do the same thing on the other side. Plug it in. Although on my copy, it doesn't really want to have the most secure connection. It just kind of sits there and just, for some reason, just kind of comes out. And then the last step is you're going to fold out these red panels from the chest. They're going to cover his shoulder blades, and you're going to fold out. You're going to tab the engine block in. And there is your Rodimus hot rod in his car mode. And it certainly is a hot ride. I definitely would call this straight fire. That transformation, though, is pretty fun. It's amazing how, the engineering that goes in to make this, because Rodimus has been cursed for so long with kind of bad engineering, like everyone trying to figure out the best way to get Rodimus to turn into this, or Hot Rod. So even if we take a look at the other most recent offering, the Power of the Primes version, and I forgot to transform him off camera, but it doesn't take too long. I say that as I take too long. I'm going to be honest, this transformation is kind of boring, for lack of a better word. Because it doesn't really feel like he's transformed. The full robot's still just right there. He's just tucked in his head and hoping you don't see the barely concealed robot. Now, granted, this thing has too many other things it wants to do, so it comes off a bit like this was the least interesting mode it had to do, but look at the progress they made from Power of the Primes, 2018, 17, to 2020, 21. But also the plastic feels incredibly different. Like, this is tighter, it feels more compact, it feels sturdier. This plastic has a kind of hollow feel to it. Like, very lightweight. Well, this is probably about the same weight. It's compact enough that it actually feels like a little bit something, not just a... And then, we're not even going to talk about this, because that's a video for... A, this is a video I've already done on this, and B, we'll talk more about this potentially in future. So... But it does have its usual hot rod. Unfortunately, the arms, they don't really do anything else. They cover them up well enough from the front. With the panels, they do kind of fold away everything except the little gray joints. But, I mean, who's really looking at it at the bottom and complaining about that? Like, that was bound to happen. And, well, honestly, I want to talk about, the fact that everyone these days is using the leg flip. Honestly, the leg flip had to be, the best recent discovery in transforming technology, because, that leg flip makes so many more transformations possible that at one time were probably impossible. Like before this came along, the only other thing we had for legs was pull, like a sliding, extending thing. And honestly, that thing was kind of old in the 80s when it debuted. So, like, there are so many different ways you can use it. It's arguably the best thing. Like the I've already talked too long about legs, but also the fact that they figured out you could hide these panels away. Like it doesn't even look. It barely looks like these panels weren't part of the arms. Like they blend in so well. Sure, there's a tiny bit of gap, but like the fact that they fold away is ingenious. And this is a very, very smooth, very, very nice car mode. It is Hot Rod's standard futuristic car, so it's not really based off any model seen. Although you could probably compare it to some of the higher end sports cars of nowadays. It's probably close to it, but it's still futuristic. It's still, I guess it's Cybertronian because, hey, what's it supposed to look like? That's totally not kibble of a robot's shins. And also, I wanted to say, are his shins actually purple or black? Because in that clip we watched, they're obviously purple, so that answers that question. But like, is it Rodimus that gets the black shins? How have his shins been depicted as black for so long? I don't know. Maybe it's a coloring error. Nope. I like the car. It drives smoothly. There's all the stuff underneath is just compact enough to give it very nice rolling. It actually has painted rims, mind you, only on the front two wheels. And I also really like the fact that the back of his car mode folds out from his shins. Like it folds out twice, and like I don't know, there's just really good engineering on this guy. Really clever stuff. And that's the best part about this toy is they could sell at a Voyager point. They kind of have to sell it at a Voyager price point because they need to engineer it like this. Like, look at the rest of the guys that are in his wave. Even Scourge, also at Voyager, they all have very simple, kind of minimalistic transformations. But this guy, he needed the extra wiggle room to pull off what he pulls off. So, if you want to complain, he's deluxe size, but being sold at a Voyager price point, uh, you have to understand what's going into that. It's not just a deluxe. It's not just a run-of-the-mill deluxe. But we do have other stuff we can do, such as the guns. We can plug them into the engine for this kind of really daft attack mode. If you want them to look really dumb. If you want to take some of the coolness out of it. And can we do anything with the buzzsaw? The buzzsaw has ports, so you can actually... Will they fit? Kinda. Gotta get them in the correct spot, though. They look slightly... Yeah, they're slightly too wide, actually. Like, the pegs are slightly far enough away. You can peg it into one of them. So it kind of is there. You can also plug the guns farther back, I think. Yes. You can plug them. Come on, plug in. What am I, Glade commercial? Ooh, maybe the ports. Come on. You plugged into the front. What was the problem there? Huh, that's kind of annoying. It'll get in there eventually. It's a little awkward, but... Oh, and I guess this is the better configuration, because the saw blade does actually plug in like this. So, yeah, if you want a car to have guns and a saw blade, I mean, unless the saw blade can fire off, I don't see how effective it's going to be in a car chase. I mean, if it's on the side, probably. It's also worth noting, I think, that where is it? It looks like it's got a stress mark already, and I just took it out of the box for this review. So, as for effect, the barrels, well, this effect part doesn't have 5mm, or not 5mm, 3mm connection, but the barrels do, so you can plug effect parts there, and I don't believe he has any other places for them, so just the gun barrel. So, yeah. This video has gone long. I'm not going to transform these guys because then the video would take too long, but overall thoughts on Hot Rod, I highly recommend him. He's definitely the one you go, he's the one with the most complicated transformation, but the one that needs it the most. And it's also nice to finally have Hot Rod honestly done properly and done as accurately as they could. Like, as nice as the Power of the Primes one is, he's just kind of severely outmoded by this guy. Like, this guy does it so much better. So, I guess one last thing. I guess we can talk about Kingdom Commander class Hot Rod. How do I feel about that? I wish it were a character who didn't already have a modern toy getting a new toy. Like with Jetfire and Skylinks, it kind of makes sense because like both of their most recent toys haven't been home runs like that Combiner Wars Jetfire or Combiner Wars Skylinks. So like they kind of really needed the Commander treatment. But Hot Rod, I'm not completely sold on it yet. Because it's a commander class price point, but like a leader class or Voyager class toy, which, as we're seeing, is very common for Hot Rod to be sold at a higher price point than, well, at a higher price point than the size of the toy would seem to demand. But given when we know about this guy, the engineering they need to make it work, and plus he's not going to be Hot Rod, he's going to be Rodimus Prime. He's going to have the Space Winnebago, which is hilarious when you think about it. Because, like, Optimus didn't have the trailer before when he was Orion Pax. But, like, it seems very funny that in at least G1, the commanders of the Autobots, whenever they become commander, they get given a giant, massive, ugly trailer that they have to heave around with them. Like, it just seems like unnecessary, but no, he's going to have that, and he's going to be, I think, a brand new mold. He's not a remold of this. But I've seen that face sculpt. It's hilarious, like, how much older Hot Rod or Rodimus's face sculpt looks. So, will I pick it up? I'm not 100% sure. I'm still not 100% sold on whether I absolutely need it or not. He may become the commander that I skip. Frankly, if it's between him and a much more expensive Scorponok as my big purchase coming up, then I'm probably going to go with Scorponok. Just because I don't have a Scorponok and I have 2 hot rods already. Yeah. I think I've talked enough for this video, so thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. Next time we'll get to a dyno, but we've still got a tiny bit of ways to go before the dyno. Although this is one that would be considered the dyno. It's Grimlock. I'm doing Grimlock next. So until then, keep it weird. Bye.